thanks for dropping by. Carrying on the theme of trying to repot a bonsai each day. I probably won't make that, but it's a target to aim at. The odd day will get missed for various reasons. But I'm doing the azalea today because time's getting on. And I've already had quite a busy day on the orchid side of the world. I've done 2 videos over there, repotted some orchids, watered a load of orchids, and unfortunately, like bonsai, where you can just chuck the hose on things, the orchids have to be watered as individual plants by hand, so they take time. But I thought we'd have a go at the azalea today because it's going to get dropped on, so I'm not doing too much work on the roots, not much more than just enough to get it in its pot. That way I don't change the media. It should just lift out. No, it won't. It's wired in. Only. I didn't notice that before. So we'll snip the wire. It looks like it's a single piece of wire, so it should come off okay. Yeah, there we go. Some right mucky stuff in the bottom, including some creatures that they're not going to be allowed to escape, not in here. The last thing I need is bugs in the orchid room. You know, natural bugs outside is okay, that's where they should live. But things like slugs in the orchid room can do so much damage, they really can. So we'll make sure they are X-bugs now. Right, and then we'll have a look and see what we've got. Goodness me. Right, I'm going to have to try and get that wire out because I want to use my saw. Let me just tip that over. I can see the end of the wire here. That's got it, and it's come out in one piece as well, which is good. We like that sort of thing. Right, now the reason I wanted that wire out of the way is because I am just going to cut the bottom of this off to enable it to go in its new pot. Goodness knows what this is. I'm sure it's got a name, but it hasn't got a lot of roots in it down here, so getting rid of it doesn't seem too much of a big deal. Now I'm just going to hold the pot next to it so that I can see roughly where I need to get the roots off. They need to come off about there for it to go in this pot. So I'm just going to make a mark there. Make a mark and everything falls off. And then we will get... If you ever play with these pruning saws, which is not the best thing in the world to be doing this with because it's going to blunt it, but I'm looking at getting an electric saw like Corinne uses, and Peter Chan does, I think. But quite honestly, when I started looking into it, I thought, well, hang on, I haven't got much more repotting to do this year. And I thought, you know, if it's going to be a tool that doesn't get used much, it seems a bit pointless. So all I'm going to do is just try and slice this through around there, which will take the bottom section off. Well, that came off easier than it should have done. What I mean by that is I don't think this has got a good root system. I'm just going to have a tease around the edges. That's why I didn't want to go too mad, because if it hasn't got a very good root system, it needs minimal disturbance. I just need to get enough so that some of these feeder roots are going to go into the new media. Ah, there are roots here. There is feeder roots here. That's good. Because azalea roots are very fine, basically. So the other thing you need to watch, I have noticed, well, 1 or 2 people that are doing their repotting out in the garden in the sunshine, which sounds like a good idea. 5 minutes in the sunshine, those roots would be dust dry, possibly borderline dying. Don't let your roots dry out. If you're going to work outside and you've got a drying wind or you're in bright light like that, then it might pay to move to a shadier spot or get a little hand spray or something that allows you to keep them moist. Right, that's all it's going to get. I'll just pop that in the pot for a second, out of the way, and then I'll get rid of this and have a bit of a clean sort of thing, because I want this. I don't know what this is, but I personally don't like it. It's soggy and it's sodden, and I can crush it really easily, so it's not very hard. Yeah, it just turns into like a paste. Don't like that much, so we will replace it with something else. However, there is still some round the root ball. Anyway, I'll get cleaned up and we'll get some clean fresh media out and get it in its pot. I'll be back. Right, first of all, I've changed my mind with the pot and gone down a size. That pot was too big. That would have been a vast amount of media with no roots in it at all, which just stay wet. So we use a smaller pot, and it'll also look better in a smaller pot. Now that's a sacrifice pot because that was earmarked. If you remember my video I did about, I forget what it was called now, a job for winter or something, where I went through all my bonsai and all the pots I had, allocating. Well, you're allowed to change your mind, you know. So this pot was supposed to be for something else, but it's been sacrificed for this one because it'll be okay. And what it was going to be used for, I'll find something else. We'll do it that way. What am I missing here? Come on, brain. More coffee. Brain not working. Lack of coffee. You don't need to query that, basically. If you know how good or bad you are at thinking stuff through, you know, working stuff out, and if it's not working properly, you haven't had enough coffee. There's no question. Doesn't need a debate. Just more coffee. And all of a sudden everything clicks into place. You have to appreciate I do lark around sometimes, and I'm not always serious. What are you so serious? What are you calling a serious? Right, so we will have some small wire with no end to it as usual. There it is, it's hiding as usual, to make some little wings, hold everything in place. About, oh, that big, something like that. Usually end up being too long. So they're not long enough, it's not good. So we'll have a little wing there. Cue for a song, Little Wing. Who did that then? Several choices there. I bet you don't get the third one. There's one very obvious one. And then there's a second one, very popular also. And then there's probably more, but there's definitely a third, and that's the one you probably wouldn't get. Answers on the postcard. Right, so there's one. Making hard work of this here. Come on. Should be able to do these a lot quicker than that. I can hear it. I can hear those brains being racked trying to work out who the hell did Little Wing. Right, we will push these up from underneath so that we have our wings underneath. And this, for me, this is a new idea, but I like it, so I will continue doing it until such time as I don't like doing it anymore. I have damaged my finger on quite a few occasions with the spiky bit on the underside of the pot. So, you know, I appreciate that doing it this way round, the spiky bit is on the inside of the pot and I don't have to worry about catching my finger on that jagged edge. So it makes sense. But practically every book you look in that's got pictures of this sort of thing is going to show it the other way round, pushing the, with the wings staying on the inside of the pot. So I don't know who thought of doing it this way, but thank you, whoever you were. Right, so that's that. I'm still going to use the same stuff as crocking. And this is just baked clay, but what I don't know, and I have no way of checking, well I have, but I'm not going to bother today, I've got no way of checking whether that is neutral pH. Now under normal circumstances, when you're potting away merrily, you don't even stop and think about pH, but when you've got an azalea you should do, because they like acidic soil. And if the soil isn't acidic enough and it's heading towards alkaline, your leaves will turn yellow. They also turn yellow when they die. But yes, azaleas will... Oh, we've done it again, haven't we? I haven't put my wire in the pot. And I've also put media in this time, which makes it even more difficult. I'll bet there's somebody shouting at the screen at the moment going, "You forgot your wire again!" Well, yes, I have forgotten it again. And I'll probably forget it next time. And the time after that. I just cannot get into the habit. Which are a nuisance. I'm running short on wire as well. I have to order some more. That's why I leave the thing on, so that I know what that size actually is. Because I've got no way of measuring something that small accurately. So by keeping the thing on it, I know what size I've run out of and what size to order. And when I order some, I always have a look round and see what else is getting low. Because it's much easier to pay one lot of postage if you have to pay postage. If you look around, you'll probably find somewhere with free postage, which is good. It is a nuisance having to do it like this, but I'm used to it. I do it more times like this than actually doing it properly, because I tend to forget almost every time. It's just how it is. Come on. There's a hole there somewhere. There we go. Right. There's one done. That pulled through a bit, which is a bit of a nuisance, but we'll live with it. And we'll push the other one up through. Whoops. Managed to find a hole, get it to push through, and then let go of it. It comes straight back out again. Stay. Once you've done it, it looks exactly the same as if you'd done it properly in the first place. It's just fiddly. It's even more fiddly when you actually put your media in on top of your crocking, because it's very easy to tip the pot far enough over that it actually all mixes up together. It sort of defeats the object of having the crocking then. Right. That's the wire. Now, back to repotting. Now, that plant was at that angle. I'm pushing that right over at that angle. I want the trunk to zigzag around the upright. So it's going to snake around an imaginary stick down through the middle. That's the shape I want. That does mean it's going to have to go over at an angle, which means I'm going to have to dig it down like that. It might take 2 repots to get it in the exact position I want. We shall see. But the initial thing I'm going to want is a fair bit of media over that side, because it will be more difficult to get it in underneath afterwards. Yeah, I'm never going to get this as upright as I want this time round, so we shall anticipate it being a little bit more upright next time. This media is my normal stuff that I had left over, which would be 2-alkaline as a base media for a plant like this. So I added to it quite a high percentage of ericaceous potting compost, which is obviously quite fibrous. Because that had made it more fibrous and less gritty, I then added some more grit. Now the thing is, the grit is neutral pH. It's stones, isn't it? Of course it is. I'm just going to try and get a little bit more of this off. I don't think it's going to work though. I might be able to just take some more of this off so that it looks a bit more level on the top. There we go, I won't take any more off. Right, now we'll wire it in. Wire's a bit too thick for this job really. But because I had some of this, the thickness I usually use I'm virtually out of. But I didn't order any more because that was, at the time, that was all I was out of, if you see what I mean. So you know, if somebody offers free postage, I don't like to take advantage of it and order 2 or 3 things a day apart. You know, they've got packing and postage to deal with, and if people be silly like that, then they'll put their prices up to cover it. It's just nice that some people still offer free postage and packing. You know, there's an effort required there, there's a person has to do some work, and there are materials involved, you know, so it's very nice. I mean, it's not really free, is it? It's built into the price. We all know that. But it feels nice if somebody says free postage, it just feels nice. But there's very little that's free nowadays. There is one thing that's always free, always has been, always will be. A smile. Come on, get one there. I remember once I was doing that, looking through a bush, and I did actually nick the end of my finger. That's when you realise just how sharp those types of wire cutters are. They've got such a small blade, you sort of don't, you know, you sort of think they're pretty inoffensive, but the blade itself, with the leverage that you get from the angle that the length of the handles and everything, they are quite vicious. Now you're probably thinking, he didn't get his pointy thing, his chopstick, and do all that. There weren't any roots to get the media in between. Because the root ball effectively remained and it didn't get teased out to any great extent, because I didn't want the roots disturbed too much. Now this will go in the shade, not in the sunshine, and I do have a little bit of a problem with this. I don't store rainwater, which would be ideal for something like this, because obviously tap water, especially around here, it's hard water, and that's just the sort of water a plant like this doesn't want, because it will be alkaline because it's got calcium in it. So rainwater, well, rainwater quite honestly is best for bonsai anyway, but tap water's better than no water. But ideally, you know, collect your rainwater and add your feed to that, or add your feed to the top of the pot, which is what I do. I use that stuff beginning with K that I can never remember. And it's just little, you know, just little pellets that they live in the surface of the grit, so that every time it gets watered, it's a slow release jobby. And right, now this looks a little lopsided at the moment, because it's been repotted and the roots have been disturbed, and I've now got a whole new angle. I'm actually going to do a little prune, not much. I'm just going to take some of the extensions off. That will reduce the foliage, and by reducing the foliage the plant's not under quite so much stress. It sticks out the back a lot, so we will take a fair bit of that off. Get back to the shorter ones, and again here. And we've got two really long gangly things there as well. The thing is, if you take them off this time of year, they might not backbud. More likely to backbud if you do it at the proper time, which is after blooming, I'm told. Now, by doing that, I've probably taken a few buds off, but nonetheless, I'm just trying to bring a bit of shape back to it now that it's at its new angle. And then the light will make these leaves tip, because they're all over a bit sideways at the moment, but the light will bring those back. So yeah, I'm going to take that long one off too. Oh, there's a spider on there. You can stay. You're allowed. It's about the only bug I will tolerate, as long as they'll fit on my thumbnail. Any bigger than that, they're pushing their luck, because I don't like the things. But I know they do good. They do no harm to man or beast. I just don't like the flipping things. And as soon as they start getting any size to them, then they're pushing their luck getting anywhere near me. Now, somebody would look up and say, you could make cuttings out of them and get loads and loads of new plants. What am I going to do with loads and loads of new plants? I don't want loads of azaleas exactly the same. And I'm not interested in selling plants or going down that road, so yeah. So that branch just doesn't need to be there. It cuts right through the centre of several other branches. The equivalent of a crossing branch. Right, I'll just lift the camera off so that you can get the view, because you're not seeing what I see. Permission to get everybody seasick. Right, so that's now the front view. I've got my trunk upright, and from this side I need it a bit more that way. This looks very empty here. That's because it is, because this was effectively the angle the tree was at. Yeah? So this now needs to fill out, and that will be done by backbudding and branches shooting out, which they will do. So that's what we've got now. Leaves all over at an angle, and they'll straighten up in the light. And then gaps can be filled up at a later date. It's a new tree, you know, so there we go. Let's get that in a shady spot, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by. Oh, and I always forget, tagged on the end as usual. If you're not subscribed, it would be ever so nice if you did so. And don't forget the old thumbs up. It all helps the channel grow, which is something I'm trying to do. So once again, see you next time.